Hello, my name is Brandon Hurley, and this is my interpersonal communications plan for Liberty University's HSCO 508. Interpersonal communication is basically the crux of all the problems in the world because too many people assume other people think like they do and don't take into account the cultural differences. They don't take into account the definitions that other people use. I may say red, I may mean fire engine red. They may think Dorito bag red, whatever the case may be. But those are the crux, in my opinion, of all of the major conflicts we've ever had in societies and between individuals within each society for as long as humanly possible. Some of this takes place because we have a tendency to actively come up with our own rebuttal to whatever the person is saying to us without actually listening to the other person, where their inflection points are, what word choices they're using, uh, their body language, such as my hands have been moving a lot during this. I like to talk a lot with my hands. That may be a turnoff to some people. They may think, oh, he's nervous, or oh, he's hiding something. Or if I look up to my left, which on here I think would be my right, I'm not sure about the reverse angle. But all those nonverbal and verbal cues that we send to people are part of our transmission of our message to whatever we're talking about, be it sports or politics or what do you want for dinner. On the other end, the receiver has to receive what has been transmitted. Like the telephone game when we're kids, or even, for lack of a better example, online, you say X, 2 and 2 is 4, and they think that, oh, Hurley likes math. Well, that's not what I was saying. I was saying 2 and 2 is 4. The essence of interpersonal communication comes down to listening. Because if you don't understand what you are being told or being asked to receive, then you're in no way prepared to deliver a proper retort. A yes, a no, a disagreement, a qualified disagreement with actual logic behind it, being logically consistent in some of our decisions. A lot of Christians, you're going to hear my dog bark in a second, I do believe. Apologies for that. Some logical inconsistencies that we hold. We want to spread love to everybody. We want to embrace everybody and expose them to God, but we may not understand that maybe they've already been exposed and they had a horrible experience with it and they're gun shy about it, or they've just lost faith, or they've backslidden. We may be against the death penalty until something bad happens to somebody we care about, and all of a sudden our logical consistency goes out the window. So when we're interpersonally talking with someone, we need to first, I have a saying I use with all my clients. You have 2 of these and 1 of these. The more silent you are, and the more you can repeat back to the person what's being transmitted to you for clarification, to make sure you understand in clear, concise, and rational language, the better you are going to be able to formulate your answer upon that. Because if you're just automatically coming up with your own rebuttal while they're talking, you're missing half of everything that's going on. Because their paraverbal communication, their nonverbal communication, their facial tics, the words they choose to emphasize, how they emphasize it. Do they say I or we or you? All those little quiet things that can get lost in translation deeply impact the message of the transmitter to the receiver. And if the receiver is not getting the same message, the whole thing blows up. If we react emotionally to something. There was a case where I was talking about today with my clients. Somebody had been abducted. The mother was telling blah, 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 blah. She's very emotional. And one of the detectives picked up on one thing that said, what about the contractor? That she had said. Now, she wasn't piecing it together. She was so close to the problem, she couldn't see that that might be a lead. But the detective, who was not emotionally charged and was just taking down the facts to help start get this investigation going, picked up on that and said, what do you mean, what contractor? That was a lead. But she was so close to it because of her emotions that she could not piece together the puzzle, or at least begin to think, hey, that might be a place to start. Whereas the non-emotional person, in this example, the police officer could go, wait a second, what more do you know about that? So when we are emotionally charged within our language, within our intimidating body style, maybe we stand up when we're overbearing with people, maybe we're leaning in and we're like, ah, grabbing them by the shoulders. That's all not going to work if you want to get your message across. You can be frustrated with somebody. You can be upset with somebody. And there's a way to say that. And most of those ways involve I statements. I feel X. I feel Y. When this is done, I feel blah. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the receiver has to take all your feelings into account. Maybe it's an emergency. Maybe they yelled at you and said, there's a fire, get the F out of here. And you don't like cuss words, or you're intimidated because something happened in your past where that phrase really triggers you. There are certain ways to communicate, such as, aggressive style. Like, you're going to do things my way because it's my house, it's my rules. And then there's the assertive style, much like in the I statements. I prefer this, I don't prefer that, I feel this, I would like that. And then there's the passive style where people are afraid to say no. They're afraid to speak up for themselves. And they tend to get walked on. People don't take their feelings or their desires into account. And they always wind up feeling last. And then there's passive aggressive. I see you still like your hair like that. Backhanded compliments. Backhanded, not compliments, I guess, insults. Sorry. But the biggest thing in interpersonal communication is the listening. Because without the listening, it doesn't matter what's being transmitted. It doesn't matter how important or frivolous it is. It's not going to come across if we, as listeners, that's my homework alarm, are not listening. And if we listen for all the subtleties, and we try to develop a rapport with the person, even if it's a complete stranger. You go to a fast food place, maybe that person's had a really bad day. Maybe the person in front of you was just a jerk. Maybe they're looking forward to getting off work because it's payday. Maybe they have something going on at home. All these things can add up to a sour interaction. And when you expand that to 330 million people in America, or almost 8 billion people on the planet, and add in cultural differences, cultural preferences, different languages, words that don't translate the same way, everything's going to fall apart. So the easiest way to get your message to be heard is to listen. If you give somebody the time of day, you saw a lot of that in the Black Lives Matter protests. What they were saying is, hey, we see something wrong. Some people in those protests, took things in a completely different route, and they were yelling and screaming, and nobody was listening to them. One side said, see, all they do is yell, and the other side's like, see, they're so passionate. The entire message wiped away when people who were trying to listen and said, okay, I may not see this, I may not experience this, but let's see if there's some validity to what they're saying. And that can be tested against, statistics or logic and reason, all types of things. So the most important thing, as I want to reiterate one last time, is get your ego out of the way, turn on your ears and shut your mouth, and listen to all the things that go into a conversation. more so than just what you want to say or what you want to hear, because there are different points of view other than yours. And if you can open yourself up, even open yourself up to another point of view that's, for example, somebody could tell me everything about me that is horrible. The bad things I've done, the mistakes I've made, my horrible hair, as you can clearly see, my unique sense of fashion, all that. And if I'm just defensive immediately, am I going to get anything out of it? No. But if they're saying it in a constructive manner, saying, hey, I think your hair would look great X, Y, or Z way. What do you think? Then you have the opportunity to embrace their feedback, take it or not, judge it against your own standards, what you prefer, and take a chance or don't take a chance. Anyway, my name is Brandon Hurley, and stay loud.